Hello and welcome to Murphy's Garden. If you're new to the channel, Murphy's Garden, we're located here in North Shropshire in England. The garden is approximately an acre in size and it's divided up into lots of different rooms. We're still very much in the progress of developing this garden, but I'll take you on a tour and show you around the areas as they stand at the moment. Always lots to do, but nice time to perhaps have a little pause and just enjoy the garden as is instead of always striving to the next thing. So let's go. And we'll begin at the beginning, as we usually do, on the Hornbeam Walk. So the Hornbeam Walk consists of a double row of hornbeam. These are pleached trees. The first row on the left hand side, there are 10 of them, and this was the first row that we put in. And we loved it so much. That was to really screen us from the neighbours who were overlooking the garden. But we loved it so much that we then put in the second row, and there are 8 of those. So you can see the difference between the two. That one is quite a little bit thicker than the first row, which is still quite thin, but it's really filled out and it really doesn't look very much different now, and it's really catching up. They put on masses of growth. The leaves only opened probably about a month ago, and then all of a sudden it goes quite shaggy quite quickly, so it will need a cut. We've done numerous videos on how to achieve this look, and I have saved some footage from over the winter period when we were Alistair was doing the winter prune, and then when it's time to cut them, which it will be sort of in the next few weeks, I'll save the footage from him doing that, and then I can put the video together just to show the full care of hornbeam, pleached hornbeam trees. Underneath the hornbeam we've got these skimmias. These are called Kew Green, and we put them in last spring. They were looking a little bit yellow, and I have fed them. I fed them with a seaweed feed, and look how vibrantly green they are now. They're absolutely lovely. And the other thing I did in the last video, I just put this stroll all the way down underneath the skimmias, and I think that will really help just lock in that moisture and hopefully keep this area a bit more weed free than it was. We then go into here. This is what we call the Quadrant Garden. Here is just a bit of a riot of lots of itty bitty planting. It's quite cottagey in appearance. We've got all the allium, purple sensation out at the moment in their glory. They always look lovely. They've gently self-seeded. They self-seed very nicely. They don't get too much. They just behave themselves, but they're really good. I have been busy putting in lots of summer plants. I've got zinnias and antirrhinums. Done a few bits of the Chelsea chop in places. And there's some salvia there, some lovely lupins, some roses, some thylictrum. That's the aconitum or monkshood. This big clump here is eupatorium. So I have been busy. You'll see some of the supports that I have very late putting them in this year, but I'm kind of glad I did because it does look a little bit ugly. But I have tried this year to make it look a bit better, because previously there's been bamboos sticking up all over the place, but I have trimmed them as I've done them, and I think that doesn't look quite so offensive as it usually does, but in a few weeks it will all grow through those anyway. This is London Pride here at the front here. Some geums there, lots of foxgloves. In each of these quadrants we've got this miscanthus grass, which doesn't look like much at this time of year, but in the autumn it's one of the central starring points of the border. So this is Miscanthus Yakashima dwarf. We've got this lovely Christophii allium just about to open, and actually there seems to be quite a lot more of those this year, so I think they must be self-seeding too. Some lovely yellow irises there at the back, and foxgloves and things like that. Some poppies just about to open. And that's a really nice thylictrum, but lots of self-seeders in here. A bit more quite casual in this area because I quite like them to be sort of quite loose and just doing their own thing. And look at something that's doing its own thing, and this is Clematis montana, and look how it's just going right up into that tree. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to do a garden tour, because I just want to capture this beautiful clematis. It's stunning. So the Quadrant Garden just swings around here. It's obviously 4 quadrants. I've put the bark chippings on these borders as much as I can, as much as I had enough to do, and not really to do all of them. Some more little things in here, Aquilegia. What's that? There's some antirrhinums there. Self-seeding foxglove. A white thylictrum. Seems thylictrum does seem to self-seed. I didn't know whether it did, and it does because it is popping up everywhere, and I like that because it's lovely. This is the little container that I did. I did a little reel on this, and I think it looks really pretty. And I put this is Brisa maxima. Greater quaking grass is its other name, and it's lovely because it's quite windy, as you can see, and it looks really delicate and pretty. And this other little grass, I love to use grasses in containers. This is Laguris ovatus, or bunny tail grass, and then we've just got some other geraniums and various things. But if you want to know more about this container, then have a look at the reel I did on Instagram. Just quickly show you this area. So this area is an area that we're going to be completely redesigning, so it's not looking great, although the Amilankia looked stunning when it was out earlier this year, but have been busy making a start clearing this area because this is going to be redesigned. So let's head down now to the sunken garden. So the sunken garden, a cooler part of the garden because it's in the shade of that big cherry tree. And here we've got 4 trees. These are Portuguese laurels, also known as Prunus lusitanica angustifolia. And they're really good. They make good structural statement. Al has cut them already. We normally should really cut them a bit later because he has cut the flowers off. So we normally get little flowers, white flowers, which are pretty, but we've sacrificed those because we didn't get them cut last year. So they were looking getting a bit too big, so we've pruned them quite early. This area we've got some Iris sibirica there, that's nice. Now this area I've mulched this quite well. We've got a lilac there at the back, and we've got another row of pleach trees, and these are lime trees this time. Lime trees, I've said this numerous times, but if you're looking to plant a row of pleach trees and you haven't got the patience and you want it to grow quickly, then look to limes because they're incredibly quick. For those of you that follow the channel regularly, I did put these hydrangea of the strong Annabelles in here. I grew these from little cuttings and I was really proud of them, and I put them in and had quite a lot of them, and then we had rabbits last year and they devoured all of them. Some of them died and there were 5 remaining, so I had to dig them up and space them out again because the rest were dead. But I'm really pleased to see that they're really coming back strong, and look, we might even get some flowers. They're all budded and I've just fed them. That one's a little bit behind. Oh, there's 6, sorry, I missed that one, 6. So let's head now into the woodland garden. We go into the woodland garden through this archway of ivy. So actually I'm going to approach the woodland garden from this angle because I think it looks nicer from this way. Just as point of reference, that's the Hornbeam Walk up there, but we'll come on to this area in a minute. So this is the woodland garden. We planted these silver birch trees. These are Betula utilis subspecies Giacomonte, and it takes them a little while to get the lovely white bark, which they have got now. They're lovely. So we've got standards, and then we've got 2 multi-stemmed ones which were planted a little bit later. And we've put them quite tight together, but the canopy is now getting quite dense and we get this lovely dappled shade. This is a beautiful grass. This is one of my favourite grasses. This is Lazula nivea. It's just lovely, and look how it looks in this light. And those of the keen eye will perhaps have spotted the appearance of some Camasias. So you probably know by now that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship, but more on a hate relationship with Camasias. I planted them in the big borders and they completely took over, and I see that they've now appeared here in the woodland garden. I'm not too bothered because I think they look lovely so long as they behave themselves. Here is the lilac from the other side. It's lovely, and look at the shuttlecock ferns in this light. Just get down low, it just looks incredible. And the path just curves around here, and there's Murphy limping a bit. And we've got the lily of the valley, which seems to pop up everywhere, but it does look sweet. And we've got these mossy stones and it looks quite nice, but it pops up all in the path, but I don't mind that. These are the bluebells just going over, and that's some Solomon's seal there arching over the path. I don't remember planting those, but they just naturally do their thing and look good. So more Camasias here. The bluebells have gone over. Some shrubs, hydrangeas here. And just more, this area is all shrubs really. The fence at the back, I've painted it. It does need fixing. You'll see it's really wonky there behind, and that paracanthus has been tied up because Alistair needs to get in there and fix the fence, but he's a little bit occupied on other jobs at the moment, so he can't do that just at the moment. But we've put more paracanthus in all along that fence, and it's getting big, so we'll be able to cover the fence hopefully with that. So some hostas here, and yeah, lovely big leaved hostas. This is an arum lily, just one. Don't know why there's only one. And this is the grass Stipa tenissima, ponytails. And here is, I posted this on Instagram. This is salsify. It's actually a vegetable, and you eat the root. You can eat the flowers. And the flowers have closed up because they do when they're in the shade, but they open in the sunshine. And it's such a pretty flower, and it's just come here, arrived here itself. And here is the best view of all of the clematis, so just check this out. I have a fear that one day it's all going to collapse and fall out of the tree. It's fantastic. Here we've got the Acer, which is doing really well. This is Zukazaki. We've struggled with Acers, but I'm really making a point of watering it very well, and it's looking good. It's rewarding me. There's a hydrangea in there that's slowly dying because I can't get at it and I can't get it out of the pot. It's stuck. This is a Catinus. So we shall head around here. This is a Phormium. I did a video a while back on Phormiums about cutting them to the ground. That was a few years ago now. John Lord on his channel shows you how to do it, how you just level it to the ground. But and somebody was asking me how it's worked out, you know, and I don't know really, because this Phormium doesn't really look very nice. It's gone very muddy. It's meant to be, it's called Jester. It's meant to have very striking red leaves, like this one. Actually, even that one's not great, and it doesn't. It looks horrible. So I don't know if that's to do with cutting it back or whether it's just gone horrible anyway. But I don't really like it, and I'm quite tempted to get rid of it. Here is now these hydrangeas. I've cut them. I know I've cut them at the wrong time. I had to, because they were just really, really woody and horrible. So I know I'm not going to get any flowers, but I just felt I had to do it because they just looked awful. So anyway, Al told me off for doing it, but it just looked horrible. So here I need a bit of work, this area, because those pots look a bit awful. So here are all the plants that are going to be going into the new area that we're designing. It's very difficult keeping everything watered, and I really need to pot everything on again, but it's such hard work. So anyway, it's doing okay. So let's just head up here. So this is a lovely rose. This is the Olivia rose, David Austin Olivia rose. My daughter is called Olivia Rose, so it was given to me originally. The original plant was given to me by my mother-in-law as a present, another Olivia Rose to look after when she was a little girl. And we've taken numerous cuttings, and we've got quite a lot of them. The obelisks here are intended to go into the Quadrant Garden, and I was just going to put them in, and Alistair won't let me because he says, and it is true, that they're a little bit rotten in places at the bottom, and he wants to do it all properly. He's very thorough, so I'm not allowed to put them in place until they are fixed. So, and I don't really want him putting them in now because everything's growing nicely in the borders, and I don't want him standing on them. So perhaps we'll do it in the autumn. So here at the end here, there was some trellis that was rotten and it all fell down, so that's another job, and we know what we're going to do, but that's going to be in the autumn now. We can't do it now, so I've just put the pots back, and it looks okay, but we have got designs on this area. This is the original Olivia Rose. Look how beautiful it is. And then here is the view down the long walk. Got box hedging flanking this path, and Nepeta on either side. Always does better on the right hand side, and not so good where the yew hedging is. And the yew hedging it's quite patchy. What I would say about yew, it grows quite quickly, but it does take a long time to get it to really thicken up and look like a nice hedge, and we're still not there yet because you can see it's quite holy, but we've got this lovely new growth, so we just have to keep doing it. It looks quite wonky, but we just have to keep doing it until it fills in. And then we've got the two Osmanthus buckwoodii trees on either side heading into the parterre. Now they've got the Erigeron Carvinskianus profusion inside, and it was looking lovely, but because these are bottomless pots, what had happened was that the soil had really dropped down by about 6 inches, and I was a bit concerned because the Osmanthus roots were being exposed, and so obviously I can't raise up the Osmanthus, but I have topped up the soil quite a bit, although you wouldn't think I had, but I have. And in doing so, I had to remove the Erigeron, so I had to cut it back and replant it. And so I cut it back hard so it could focus on its root development, and it is starting to come back again. So it's not looking as nice as it was because I sort of ruined it really. And we'll head now into the parterre, and this is a Rose Parterre, and we've got box round each of the 4 areas, and inside we've got roses, and these are David Austin Desdemona roses, and aren't they beautiful? I love them. And in the middle here we've got these little metal obelisks, and up them we've got a very pretty clematis called Princess Kate. It's lovely, and you'll see that the strolch has been replaced here, so if you're interested in this product, it really makes for a very weed-free area. I don't need to do any weeding here once the strolch is down, as long as you put it on nice and thick. And so we'll head now into the seating area. And these incidentally are cobble sets. They are reclaimed cobble sets which we got from the streets of Liverpool, and they were very hard to lay. Took a long time to lay them, but now they're down, they're very strong and really good. We've had no problems with them, they've been lovely. Here is the little corridor, so we've got a little corridor out into the rest of the garden up there, and in here is the seating area. So we've got a dead end there with a holly tree. I was a bit worried about this holly tree because the pot that it's in, it keeps falling over, and it's got a hole in this pot. This isn't stone, this is that, I can't remember what it's made of, but it's quite light, so it falls over all the time in the winter, and so it needs to be potted on desperately. So I've ordered a new pot, slightly bigger pot, and it should be coming soon, so we'll get that repotted. This is the seating area. I think I don't know, it's just wet this area. It was all dusty, it's very dusty everywhere. This is the little succulent step ladder. This was the original steps from the children's playhouse when they were little, which we converted into this little pot holder, which I think looks quite sweet. Barbecue looks a bit of a monstrosity under there. And these pots I've renewed and look quite pretty. Got salvias, we've got the little cosmos in there, more of these grasses, which I love. And I'm going with a similar colour theme here. So we've got all these pinks, purples and yellows. That's my colour theme. These are some more of the cuttings of the Olivia Rose, David Austin Rose, and underneath I've just put some thyme, creeping thyme, and little Erigeron thing in the middle there too. So these roses were in the big borders, and we dug them up and Let's just put them in there. So this is a lovely sunny area to sit in the evening, although we haven't actually done that. Even though we've had lovely weather, we haven't had time to sit outside. We just work outside. And we'll head now into the tree area, but before we do, I'll just show you, this is a building site here, but these are some Irish yews, and they are punctuating this area, and had a comment on Irish yews about how to look after them. And I just really want to ask anyone's advice who's got any opinions on this. I can't find anything about them. So I have been told, I've seen other people do it, where you tie up the Irish yew, because if you don't, it has a habit of splaying open, and it did actually. The string broke and the branches completely opened up and it looked really unsightly. So I tie them up with string, but then I wondered, is it a good idea perhaps to prune the branches so it's not quite so heavy, because I don't want them to get much bigger than this. I want to keep them at this width. So anyone who's got any experience of growing Irish yews, that would be quite useful, but they do look lovely. So let's head into the tree area. So we've got various trees. We've got hydrangeas. That's another Amilanke. It doesn't look very spectacular, but it did when the blossom was on it, but it's only little. This is a big hydrangea. This is limelight. Look at this. This is Viburnum plicatum Kilimanjaro. Isn't that stunning? It's got these kind of tiers of branches and it just looks incredible. Then we've got this Pittosporum Tom Thumb. There's a little nest in there, but I haven't seen anything in the nest at the moment. And various plants in here. That's a magnolia. There's a lot of, we're in the throes of doing lots of work, so behind's quite unsightly. But the roses, incidentally, are doing very well, that we planted up against the trellis, so it should cover the trellis soon and then we won't be able to see through it. This is beautiful. This is a catalpa, Bigonoides aurea, and I put this in and it was a bit of an afterthought. I just bought it on a whim, put it in, and it really didn't look very well. I thought it wasn't going to survive, but actually it's come back absolutely beautiful. This is some sort of conifer. I can never remember the name of conifers for some reason. I've got a mental block. One's called something sunshine. Can't remember. I'll put the name up. And this is Euonymus europaeus red cascade. And then here more of that Stipa tenissima. And actually some of the other ones that I've got, I didn't cut them back, and I think you are meant to, because this has come back lovely. But we had some rabbits in again earlier in the year and they chewed it all right to the ground. But they've actually done me a favour, because this one has come back absolutely lovely. So I know now to cut them back. Got some clematis there, some more roses. There's lots of gaps here in these borders, and as you can see, we've mulched everywhere just to suppress the weeds. And then we will be coming back, revisiting this area, and we need to put lots and lots more understory planting in. This is lovely. This is the Cercis canadensis forest pansy. The leaves still just opening and they're quite little, but look how pretty it is with the light behind it. It's so lovely. And then the other tree, this is our beautiful tree. This is the Crataegus persimilis prunifolia. It's a multi-stemmed tree, and this is the one that was in Olivia's garden for her Tatton, her first show garden that she did, and it's just beautiful. And underneath it I've just planted it with Erigeron, Carvinskianus again, because I just like that and it's simple. But last year I had lots of annuals in it, and so I see that some of them have self-seeded, so I don't know, I'll probably just leave them, but that is doing very, very well. This is the Parotia persica vanessa, doing well, and over here is the Heptacodium, which is very nice. It's got this peeling white bark. Lots of work needs done to this area. So our priority was just to get the trees in, because they can be growing on while we're busy doing other things. I'll just show you this. That's another phormium which doesn't really look very beautiful, but this does. This is China Girl. This is Cornus crusa China Girl, and these are the bracts, not flowers but bracts, and they're gorgeous. And then we'll head round here. This is the Acer Grisium. Some other bits and bobs. And then I'll just take you, actually I'll take you round the back here because I love this little, this is like a little secret area. So the path, there is a little secret path. It's really a maintenance path for the hedge, but I quite like that you can go around here and play hide and seek. If you're a little child, it would be really fun. So this heads right round the back here, and if you look over, I'll let you look over because I can't see, but if you look over the hedge, you can get a glimpse at what's going on in there. I'll come around and join you. So this area is a bit of a building site. We're putting water up the middle. This is going to be a rill. Al's busy on this job, and he doesn't really want me filming him because he's just learning and just working it all out. He's never built a rill before, but that's not going to stop him. So head back into the parterre, round into the vegetable patch, so Murphy can lead the way. And I've been incredibly busy in the vegetable garden. I'll take you, let's start right down at the bottom. Let's go right down here. And it's getting quite full, so much so that I'm beginning to run out of room. And I have got other things I wanted to plant, but I don't think I'm going to have room for much more. But I will try and have things coming on for when other things go over. So here, these are the potatoes. These are elf potatoes. Last year I grew a few of lots of different types, but my very favourite potato is elf, and I haven't been able to get any for about 3 years, and I was so thrilled to be able to get some this year that I decided just to plant them all as elf potatoes. I think they're second early, so I should probably have planted some new potatoes in a pot, but I didn't. Along the fence line are the espaliered pear trees. We've got two. We've got Conference and we've got Invincible. The hedge behind is getting a bit wild, and so it starts to encroach into the vegetable patch a little bit too much, but once that's cut it will start to look a bit nicer again. We had lots of flowers, and I think we're going to have a bumper crop of pears again. We had a bumper crop last year. Here are the broad beans. We've got 2 groupings of broad beans, and I've been doing a little Instagram or shorts all about growing broad beans, and this is the technique that I use. Look at the bees, are all over this. And now really is the time to pinch the broad beans out, but I said I would do that as part of the Instagram reel, so I won't do it at the moment. But all you do is just simply, without disturbing that bee, is just pinch out the top, and this stops it getting black fly. Gosh, can you hear the bees? And all those flowers will turn into lovely broad beans, and broad beans are great because they freeze really, really well. So I like to grow masses of them and then freeze them. Here, got some peas, and all along the fence line for the rest of the vegetable patch are apples, espaliered apples. These aren't as old as the pears, so they're still quite juvenile, but we do still get a few apples on there. These are the peas. Just make do thing for them to climb over. And then you see that I've just recently got these in just today, and here are the courgettes. So I've got 6 courgettes, which will be a lot of courgettes. That you really only need probably 2 at the max 3 plants, but I never waste them, and the secret is to pick them when they're little, and they're so much nicer when they're little. So I'll make sure I do that, and this is the technique I use. So I dig a bit of a trench around them, like a little pool, little well, and then when you're watering, it's far easier just to put the water round the well and also a little pot inserted into it, and that way you know that the water is not just going all over the surface, but rather it's going into the roots. I've also got some sweet corn. I've got 7 sweet corn plants, which is an odd number, but actually because this is a wedge shape, it's actually worked out quite well. And with sweet corn, it's important not to plant in a row, but rather than to do it in a kind of block, because they are wind pollinated. And I will just say this archway, the fence here is quite peely, but there's a nice archway over here, and I thought it would be nice to grow some climbing French beans. I'm not a big fan of runner beans, so I tend not to grow runner beans now. These are the squashes. We've got hawk and what was the other one? I can't remember now. Oh, hunter, and another one I can't remember. I can't pronounce it. Let's see, Merino de Chiagio or something like that. And there's another type down here. So we've got lots of squashes because I love them. It's always best to grow things that you really, really love, and things that you can't buy. They're not so readily available in the shops. Here are onions, which are readily available in the shops, but I quite like growing onions because I like stringing them. So quite a lot of onions there. And I've just done some little rows here of the little soya beans, a row of soya beans, which I've never grown before. They seem quite nice. And then I've done some of the dwarf French beans as well in different colours. So the ones that will climb are green. These ones are yellow. And then I've got some purple ones coming on in the greenhouse. So there's not a lot of room, as you can see. They're really a bit too tight together, but I could hold on to the red ones and then put them in once the broad beans have finished. That tree in the bottomless pot is a discovery apple tree. I won this in a competition actually, and it's got lovely little apples on it. And here is the cut flower garden, and you'll see with these 3 rows, these are Ami visniga, Ami majus and Dorcas carotea. So they're the kind of fillers when you're doing flower arrangements. I'm not a expert florist by any means, but I've been experimenting in the last few years and I've really enjoyed it. And then the rest of this patch, which I did last year, were all dried flowers, things that dry really well. You can have them fresh, but also they dry. So we've got things like amaranthus, limonium, straw flowers, all these different things, rat's tail status, scabious, Amobium elatum, all of those things. I grew a lot of them last year and they were absolutely lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed them. I wasn't going to grow the amaranthus again because I think it needs more moisture than is in this soil. This is very dry soil, and all of the things in here, apart from the amaranthus, seem to thrive on that. But the amaranthus had self-seeded all over the vegetable patch. So just because it had grown, it was telling me it wanted to give it another go. So I've put it in. You can see there are, I think one's called Pygmy Torch, and then I can't remember the other one. It's a green one and a purple one, and it was lovely, but it was just a bit stunted, so perhaps need to remember to water well. Here is the fruit area. So we've got black currants, we've got the black currants, going to be lots of currants on there. We pruned this earlier in the year and it's really responded well. Lots of gooseberries coming. We've got green gooseberries and we've got the nicest gooseberry bush, which are these purple gooseberries, and they are delicious. Somebody gave me the plant and it's lovely. And then we've got loads of strawberries. Last year was the first year that we had fabulous strawberries. I've never really had much success with strawberries, so I think they've just managed to start to establish and they seem to love it. And I have been putting straw down, which perhaps seems to help as well. The rhubarb has been good. We've been harvesting that and enjoying that with our dinner, and it's coming back again. And I've mulched all this, so you know I'm a big fan of mulching, because I wear a lot of weeds in here and I don't want to keep weeding. This is a blueberry bush. I think you are meant to have 2, and I did have 2, but one got attacked by ants and died, so I'm not sure if this will how that will do. And this is the planter, the Vigiga planter, which I was given very kindly by the company, and I planted it out with spring bulbs, and it's been absolutely beautiful, and the bulbs had gone over, and so I thought it would be a good idea to put the dahlias in here, which I hope will be nice. So I only just put them in. I put them in yesterday, and I've put some string so that the plants can just grow through the string and just give them a little bit of support. So we'll see how that does. And then here, I'll just stand back. So we've got these raised planters, which have been brilliant. I'm really enjoying growing in here rather than directly in the ground. I do still like having things in the ground, but for certain things it's definitely doing well. So underneath this one, we've got leeks, which are quite tiny, and I've just been doing more sowings. So it's important to keep sowing and keep succession. This one has been great. We've had the loveliest greens. This is a green Mizuna, which is very nice. I grew a red one called Red Night, but this one I think is more prolific. I love it. And so what I've got here, I've got Mizuna, I've got beetroot, and I've got spinach, and I've got pak choi. And so what I've done, is plant exactly the same again this side, so that when that goes over, I've got the next lot coming on. So I've got good succession, I hope. And then in here, I thought this is probably the sunniest of the planters, because this one, the yew hedge shades it a little bit, as does that one. So I thought this is probably the best chance of ripening tomatoes and things. Last year I had it in that one and they didn't ripen. So here we've got a tumbling tom tomato, got 4 aubergines and 1 cucumber and 2 gherkins. Love growing gherkins, and then I pickle them. So I like growing things that I can keep for the winter, you know, things that I can bring on a little bit. And under here I've got some artichokes, which I've grown from seed, so they probably won't do much this year, but that's something that we can have going forward every year. Hopefully it'll come back. I did have them once in the ground and they didn't survive the winter, so I'm hoping in here that they will. And I've just done a little catch crop of some lettuce leaves while we wait for the artichokes to grow. And I'll be training these onto the bamboo as they get bigger. There's Murphy. These are all the herbs outside the shed. Lots of different types of mint, coriander, chives. We've got rosemary, more mint, parsley's looking a bit yellow, and some basil. And I want to grow masses of basil this year. Again, I can freeze it and make it into, or do pestos and things with it. And this little bed is just a few of the extra flowers that we've grown. Lots of them have gone into the main garden, but these are just some extra ones. So we've got some antirrhinums and celosia, and I think they have all antirrhinums. And there's some stalks. So let's head now into the greenhouse. The hose is just out because Alistair's using it for his cement. And here is a little hanging basket, which has got another tumbling tom in it, so that will get the sun there. And this area, as I say, we've got plans for this area. It won't be accessible into the main garden from here. We've got a plan which we'll have to do now in the autumn. That little planter had some bulbs in it, so I've just shoved in some leftover bedding. These are the clematis, which will go onto the obelisk when the obelisks are installed. And then this little planter, this is my little ranuncular planter, and I have got a ranuncular at last. I haven't had much success. I tried to grow ranunculars from seed last year, and they were miniature. They were about 5 centimetres in height, and they weren't very good. This year they look a little bit better, but the leaves have gone very yellow, and I wasn't sure why. So I've taken off all the yellow leaves and I've given them a good seaweed feed, and we'll see what they do. But I don't think I'm going to be harvesting armfuls of ranunculus, as was in my head, was in my imagination. That's what I was picturing. That might not happen, but we're going to have at least about 3 or 4. So perhaps we'll leave that to the experts. I don't know, might give it another go, we'll see. So in the greenhouse has been all turned round because initially it's used obviously for seed sowing, and that's all finished. All the plants have gone into the garden. There's nothing sitting around. It's all quite tidy. I've cleaned out all the greenhouse and put the tomatoes in their place for the summer. So I've got 12 plants, tomato plants. I've grown 11 of them. I bought that one at the end, which is Shirley, because I know somebody that absolutely raves about Shirley. So I saw one and thought, oh, I'll give it a go. So I've got Shirley, I've got Beef Bountiful, I've got Golden Sunshine, Black Russian, Tigerella, another Tigerella, Cherry Million, 2 Cherry Millions, and Tigerella, Black Russian, and Golden Sunrise. Then here I've got, I think that's my gherkin, and 2 cucumbers. I've got La Diva and something else. Oh, Conza. And then there in the corner there are 2 aubergines as well. So I seem to have grown a lot of aubergines, so hence why I'm just going to put them outside. That's the amaranthus that I grew from seed, but because it is self-seeded, I don't think I'm going to need that. And that's a gherkin I'm going to give to somebody else. And here are some the next crops coming on. So I've got some sprouting broccoli, some black TP, purple TP, climbing beans, some lettuces, a chilli plant which doesn't seem to be getting any bigger. It's been like that size for weeks. And that's it really. So I think that concludes the tour. So it was lovely to have you join me. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and come with us in the next video because it's a really exciting one. It's our trip to the Chelsea Flower Show, always a big highlight of the year, and there's always lots to see. If there's anything in particular that you would like me to focus in on, let me know in the comments. It's always good to get some feedback. But thank you very much for watching, and join us again in the next video. Bye for now.